I mean, it's very disappointing that anybody would try and dodge the column on this one, George, because as you say, bigotry, discrimination, casually stupid assumptions about people's ethnicity and religion, there's no place really in our politics. But we do seem to soft pedal, I think, with issues around Islamophobia. I mean, the letter that's been written today by the Muslim Council of Britain, which represents 500 ordinary Muslim community groups around the country, by its Secretary-General Haroon Khan to the Tory party chairman Brandon Lewis. I mean, when you read this letter, this is a perfectly reasonable letter. It's raising issues about a kind of casual culture of Islamophobia that the Conservative Party, and I dare say other parties too. I'm not not hammering the point with the Tories here necessarily, but there are issues there. There are issues that have been brought to light by the media in recent days and recent weeks, and they need to be addressed. They need to be dealt with. And the letter that he's written, just makes a very simple point that, the Tory party should commit to an independent review of Islamophobia in the party. There clearly is some. Baroness Varsi, the first Muslim woman cabinet minister under David Cameron, of course, she thinks so as well. So clearly there is an issue. It calls for a programme of education and training so that these kind of lazy caricatures can be challenged and people can avoid falling into error, quite frankly. And that the Tory party publishes a list of recent incidents, and the action that has been taken to deal with them. Now, I think that's, frankly, a perfectly reasonable ask, if you like, from a group like the MCB. And, I mean, it makes the point. I mean, I'll just read this very, very short line. Our democracy should not be overshadowed by a divisive culture within political parties that scapegoats minorities and alienates some who share similar political positions. I think it makes the point. There are very many Muslims that vote Conservative. The majority don't, but there are obviously significant portions that do. And it just strikes me as extraordinarily stupid in an electoral system to go about alienating, as you say, upwards of 2 million voters in this country. So really, it's over to the Tory party to do something.
It is, and unfortunately, we've not been able to tempt any of them to discuss it. And of course, we know, don't we, that if people feel alienated from a system, from a society, then a portion of the alienated will drift onto the rocks of extremism and even violence. It's extraordinarily stupid from that standpoint too. If you want to make people feel that they're included in your society, well, you need to treat them with respect, don't you?
Absolutely, and it's not merely words. I mean, Brandon Lewis, who's the newish chairman of the Conservative Party, should perhaps be given the benefit of the doubt this morning. He's published a code of conduct recently in the local elections for their MPs and members and councillors to abide by. So, perhaps he will come onto your show later on, George. Who knows? But it's deeds rather than words here, and I think there's some evidence we've seen in recent weeks, particularly around social media, and it's so easy for people, of course, to kind of either through sins of omission or commission to sign up to all kinds of crazy websites or to retweet stupid remarks and what have you. And really, this needs kind of calling out, and it needs we need a culture in our politics that sort of says don't scapegoat minorities of whatever character, because as you say, the more you push people out of the political mainstream, the more you push them into the hands of people who've got a more nefarious agenda, and we can't have that. And the vast majority of decent, law-abiding Muslims in this country, the overwhelming majority who wish to participate in our politics and do so, increasingly at every level in political life, should not have to face, the kind of casual, snide remarks or stupid retweets or Conservative MPs sharing platforms with Hindu nationalists that scapegoat all Muslims as jihadists and what have you, which is the issue we're dealing with, I guess, with Bob Blackman, the Tory MP for Harrow East this morning. We need a culture where there is genuine respect, that some of these issues are just taken off the table, and anybody that deliberately tries to scapegoat and wind up these often very difficult situations is dealt with by their parties. And this morning we're talking about the Tory party. In other times, we might be talking about the other parties. But, the issue here is with the Tories today, and it's up to them to show that, as I say, it's deeds rather than just words. It's not just a case of publishing codes of conduct. It's about cracking down on people who clearly breach those codes of conduct.
It's particularly stupid, as you inferred, because on the face of it, Muslims would be a likely growth area for support for the Tory party. A fantastic number of Muslims in Britain are small and medium-sized business people, and some are even very big business people. Muslims are, by and large, small c, conservative people on moral issues, family issues, and so on. You would have thought that the Tories would have seen that as a target area for electoral growth, rather than gratuitously kicking them in the teeth.
Yeah, absolutely, George. I mean, you would think that they would be making much stronger overtures, especially, of course, as you've got a Muslim Secretary of State, Home Secretary no less, in Sajid Javid, who sits around the cabinet table, and as I say, the first, I think I'm right in saying the first woman.
Yes, she was Baroness Wasey, yeah.
Sayyidah Varsi. So at times they've kind of made these overtures, but you've got to continue to do that, and the kind of reactionary rump of the Tory party shouldn't be allowed to dictate the terms upon which one of the main political parties in this country is seen to deal with one of the largest minority groups in this country, and they're cutting their nose off to spite their face.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of potential there to make electoral inroads, but that won't happen unless they show in deed as well as word that there is no place for Islamophobia in their party.
Well said, Kevin Meagher. Particularly grateful to you today, Kevin, for helping us out with that, given that nobody else would. Kevin Meagher, author of A United Ireland.